Providing live finance advice on WMAC since 1993. It's time for Your Money with Steve Rosenberg, Sherri Goss, and Randy Goss. To participate in today's program, call 478-742-0940 with your financial questions or comments. And now live from the Macon studios of News Talk 940 WMAC, it's Your Money.
Good morning, Middle Georgia. Becca Wilton and Sherri Goss are here to take your phone calls. The number is 478-742-0940. Happy Saturday. It's going to be kind of chilly but nice today. Last night, we went out, first Friday. Everything was pretty much open. We had dinner in a restaurant, and there was zero social distancing. It was packed. It was totally packed. There were so many people out last night. They were slammed. But anyways, fun things going on in Macon. There's a thing called a Shamrock and Ride scavenger hunt coming up on Saturday, March 13th. It's presented by Bike Walk Macon. They're trying to get more people to get out and walk and ride your bicycle and get fresh air. So what you do is they give you a map of the scavenger hunt area, and on the back you find more than 50 destinations, activities, and challenges to compete within a 2.5-hour time frame. So go to Bike Walk Macon if you're interested. You can have teams. Your family could be a team, and kids under 7 are free. So it might be a fun family thing to come out and do, and you get a T-shirt and a swag bag.
Sounds like a fun time.
Yeah, it's just good to get out. They're doing a Dr. Seuss walk today. I saw the signs up in some of the storefronts, and it's a perimeter running from Poplar First down to Cherry. And you're supposed to, you're reading a Dr. Seuss book while you're walking through this thing, and I don't have that website for that. And then Cherry Blossom, you need to put on your calendar. It's the March 19th through the 28th. The whole thing is happening. Tons of activities and fun things, and it's all outside when you have to wear a mask.
Oh, and the Cherry Blossom race, they have a 5K and a 10.2K. That's March 20th at 8:30. So I think you can still sign up online and get a discount through.
Are you going to run in that?
I don't know. It depends. If I'm here, I won't.
If you're here, you won't? You said what?
If I'm here at the radio station.
Oh, it's because in the morning.
Yeah.
What do you mean if you're here? We're all here. Other little tidbit of news for the state of Georgia. Governor Kemp announced a $47 million project to bring high-speed internet. For my clients that live in Gray, Georgia, that cannot get online to look at their account, help is on the way. They literally brought their laptop to see me in the Macon office because they thought it was us. And they opened their laptop and they got right in. It's that bad. And so if you're trying to work from home or do school from home in some of these counties, it's a disaster. So Bibb, Jasper, Jones, Morgan, Twiggs, Wilkinson, Putnam, and Baldwin counties are going to have high-speed internet, and they started working on it today. And it's going to take 2 years to get done.
People are still going to come visit you for an appointment and to use your Wi-Fi.
And you can always go to the library. You can sit in the parking lot of any of the Middle Georgia libraries and get on their Wi-Fi, but that's kind of a pain. But it's a real problem. This high-speed internet access is big. It's a big deal for people that are trying to, just do anything. I can't imagine
working from home and the school work, trying to help your kids. That's frustrating enough. But on top of it, having internet problems.
Right. Anywho, so one last thing. So last night at midnight, they finally either fell asleep, gave in, or I don't know what on this whole COVID relief bill. So it's going to be $1.9 trillion. They added a new provision to make the first $10,200 of 2020 benefits non-taxable. So this is retroactive. So thank you CPAs out there that are doing people's taxes that have already filed their taxes to get there because they want to get their earned income tax credit because they're low income and they had unemployment, and now they have filed and have owed taxes on last year's unemployment, but now they retroactively changed it, so they're going to have to go back and refile.
Oh, CPA's greatest nightmare.
This is crazy. And it's for households making less than $150,000. They qualify for that first $10,200 of 2020 benefits to be non-taxable. I haven't seen this anywhere until this morning.
Yeah, I hadn't heard of it either, but that could be big for some people.
Right. The bill also provides $1,400 in the direct payments, sends $350 billion to state and local governments, funds vaccine distribution, and expands the child tax credit, which I think is rotten. It's already $6,000 if you have 3 kids, and they were going to try to make it $15,000, which I think is just ridiculous. It doesn't help people move forward in life. That's my problem with it.
It's very temporary.
It's temporary. It's like, here's a big shot of money. Go spend it all. Stimulate the economy. But are you in any better shape than afterward than you already were? That's a whole nother story. It expends ending the jobless benefits on September 6th. So people on unemployment, that's a whole nother story, are going to continue through August. And then, of course, it shot down the $15 hour minimum wage because that was already dead. And then there was something, student loan forgiveness. They want to write off $10,000 in debt for 43 million Americans with federal student loans.
Wow.
How is that fair to people that got private student loans?
It's not. Or how about the people that have just paid theirs off or been paying on them and they only have a couple thousand left?
I don't understand how this is fair and everything else is not fair. It's
and
like
the people that have 100,000, what's the 10,000 really going to do to help?
Anyways, So anyways, they're supposed to, they expect Congress to approve this today and whisk it to Biden's desk. So we will see.
Just have to wake him up from his nap.
Hey, Joe.
Sign this.
Anyways, what you got that you want to talk about?
Do we want to talk about the cybersecurity?
Yes.
All right. So with everybody being home last year in 2020 working and being stuck at home, consumers were spending more time online and businesses were struggling to suddenly support distributed workforces, and network security became more vulnerable than ever, leading up to 400% uptick in cybercrime reports, according to the FBI. So we have, at Rosenberg, we have a company that we work with, and we wanted to talk just briefly about that and what you can do for your personal side and for your business side. We have, I found an article about cybercrime and just kind of gives you a little overview. Talks about cybercrime's criminal activity that either targets or uses a computer or a computer network to a network device. And it's committed by criminals or hackers who want to make money. So I just always think, why won't these people use their good and get a real job and help the world? But they spend hours and hours trying to target people. So some of the examples of different types of cybercrime: email and internet fraud, identity fraud, where your personal information is stolen, theft of financial or card payment data, theft and sale of corporate data, cyber extortion, ransomware attacks, cryptojacking, cyber espionage, all these new words we have out there. And so sometimes the criminal activity can target you, or they can kind of do like a blanket where they just send out bulk emails. And we've seen this a lot with our clients. And when I worked at the bank, I saw this a lot of people. You get all sorts of different emails, and they change. Like they go through rotations month after month to get, a fresh idea, and where your loved one's stuck in England and needs money and send them money.
I've had that. I've had people have that story. They get they are awakened in the night to a phone call on their cell phone, and it's their grandson who's traveling through Europe, and he's in jail and needs $5,000. And they get their credit card out and they pay.
Isn't that horrible?
Right.
I guess if you got woken up in the middle of the night and you're worried about your grandchild and you're disorientated.
But what was so crazy is his grandchild actually was going through Europe. He was in Europe, and he knew that he was, and they just happened to hit him on the day where the kid was in Europe, and so he thought it was legit.
Isn't that crazy? How are they so smart? Why can they be that smart?
Right.
Malware attacks are where the computer system or the network's infected with a computer virus or other type of malware. And we get people that call in to us occasionally that have problems where they're clicking around too much and they click on things. Just be so careful what you click on the computer.
And when you get an email, don't open it. Put your cursor over the address and see what it really is, because anyone can spoof any email address, and it can look like it's coming from some legit company, and it's coming from a spam company.
Yep.
Just like your phone. Don't answer the calls. If you can't identify who it is, don't even answer it. Just let it go, and the calls will go away because you're not answering the phone.
Yeah, you can also there's an app, I'll figure that out, what the name of it is, where it'll actually say potential spam calls, and it blocks all the calls for you. Like
and
Verizon.
All the phone companies are working really hard to shut down the spam. I mean, they all are working. It's gotten a lot better, but they just keep working around it. I mean, and they're fake emails, fake websites, fake everything. Don't go out anywhere. So how this really blew up last year is everybody was looking for, where's my stimulus check? When those first stimulus checks came out, they wanted to know where theirs was because they hadn't received it yet. So there were all these fake websites. Where's my stimulus check? Where's my tax refund? You click on those things and go down a rabbit hole and you're done.
Right. It's asking you for all your personal information. And if you're trying to get your check, you'll give them any information.
Right.
But they get everything. And then they can wipe out your bank account or steal your identity, get your credit. It's just crazy what all they can do.
So another one that I had a case last year of a guy who came to see me whose wife had been sick for 5 years off and on with cancer, And she passed away, and he said to his kids after the funeral, he said, I got to get out of here for a few days. So he told his neighbor, I'm gonna go for 5 days. I'm taking a break. I just got to have some time to myself. Can you get my mail? And the neighbor's like, sure, yeah, I could do that. So he goes off and looks at the ocean or something for 5 days. He comes back and goes to the neighbor and says, I'm just here to pick up my mail. And he goes, you didn't have any. And he said, what? How did I not have any mail? I get junk mail. I get mail every day. He said, I looked in your mailbox every day and there was nothing there. So he calls the post office, and they said, you changed your mailing address to a post office box in New Jersey last month.
Ooh,
and he says,
no.
I didn't. I'm still here. Well, you got a big problem. You better check your credit report. What they had done is they looked at the obituary of his wife in the paper, and they went to his mailbox and stole his mail, and then they changed his mail to an address that they could use in New Jersey so they could get personal information about them. And he figures somebody at the hospice or the nursing home or something stole her Social Security number. So they already had pretty much everything they needed. And they'd already opened up credit card accounts in her name. They were processing.
Crazy.
So you've got to not disclose a lot of personal information in an obituary anymore. It's a massive scam thing right now. And so if you put in where a person was born, where they grew up, all their relatives' names, what time you're not going to be home because you're going to be at the service, what time, I mean, you disclose so much personal information in those obituaries, and you have to stop it. Tell stories about the person. Make it about something else other than all of those facts, because they can use facts to figure out the majority of your Social Security number, and they get a bank account number. I mean, stealing stuff out of your mailbox, it's all bad.
Between that and Facebook, you post your picture,
Right.
we're on our way, and people start. They
Yeah,
know
we're not
exactly when
home.
You leave. Yeah.
We're on vacation. Come steal my mail.
Another thing, there's been some issues with people breaking into mailboxes, the community mailboxes.
Oh, yeah.
They're prying off the back, and so you don't even realize that your mail's, you miss a day or two, you don't think about it. But like the second, third day, you're like, wait, why haven't I gotten any mail in 3 days? And they're finding those community mailboxes. They have some video cameras. They'll get neighbors' cameras that are pointed towards it and see people pull up like in the middle of the night or real early in the morning and rip off the back and pull out all the checks or mail, whatever it is.
Statements with full account numbers on them.
And it's probably going to get worse with the whole stimulus check now, because they're going to be thinking there's going to be checks in the mail, and they're going to be trying to steal everybody's mail for that. So be careful. Maybe keep an eye. Most people know when their mail comes, and with a lot of people working from home these days and your kids at home.
Or get a post
somebody
office
get the mail.
box.
Yeah.
It costs $75 a year, and it can be secure.
There you
locked
go.
down with a key.
There you go.
That's what I would do.
Don't let them get your check.
Anyway. So the next thing I was going through this stuff last night, and I got completely out of order that we agreed on yesterday. So the next thing I have is about small businesses. What do you have next?
Okay, we can talk about that next.
All righty. So I had lunch with Lisa Rackley, who runs the Small Business Development Center in Macon, and they're next door to our Macon office. And what they do is they help people decide whether to start a business or how to value a business that they're planning on selling. And they worked with us for a year, and I've talked about this before, but when we bought the business in Milledgeville, it's an automotive shop our son runs, the business did not have good books and records to prove the valuation of it. It's extremely critical that you have books and records that show here's the income you had, here's the payroll that you spent, here's the expenses that you had, and here's the profit. You have to be able to prove that in order to get things like the PPP loan.
Yes.
I mean, that's why so many people missed out on this, is because they do cash businesses where they don't have any records, so they can't prove whether their business was down because they can't prove that they ever made any money. And so anyway, so that's just a big deal. So now, as of last night, self-employed and gig workers can now apply for PPP loans. And I know somebody that I need to call about this under the new rules. So let's say you're a sole proprietor. You own a business, and it's just you. So these rules, people have been waiting for these rules for a year. As of Friday, but here's what's critical. As of Friday, the Small Business Administration is ready to accept and process updated PPP applications from sole proprietors looking to take advantage of the new loan calculation.
That's going to be huge for people.
Right? The administration announced a 14-day priority window for businesses with fewer than 20 employees to apply. The period began on February 24th and ends on March 9th. But they just got the information to the banks yesterday.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. This is very frustrating. So the new loan calculation rule is confusing to some. They didn't release guidance until the 3rd, which was updated in the system Friday. But the window closes at 5 p.m. Eastern Time on March 9th, at which point lenders will be able to process applications from all sizes of small businesses. The deadline for the program overall is currently March 31st. So if you are a sole proprietor, you need to get with your lender ASAP Monday morning, because you go through them to apply with the SBA. And they're probably working overtime this weekend making sure their systems are all set up to be able to process this stuff.
And hopefully most of the lenders have been through it already, so hopefully they're a little better prepared this time than they were the first time around.
I know, but the whole thing of it has changed. The forms, what they're using to calculate what you can get is all different because of their self-employed status. And there was something else in here. And I have some articles that are extremely lengthy, and they have PDFs and all sorts of stuff. If you need this, email me at Sherri, Sherri, at rfmoney.com, and I can shoot this stuff to you so that you can be prepared Monday to go after this. Let me see. Let me see if there's anything else in here. Nope. We can move on to the next thing.
Okay, well, the article I had about the selling a small business was talking about the taxes.
Oh, yeah.
There's 4 main tax-related issues to keep in mind when you're selling your business. So your proceeds can either be taxed as ordinary income or capital gain. The sale, if it's an all-cash deal or if it requires payments, different installment payments, you can be taxed different ways, whether the sale is one asset or one of stocks, and whether the sale can be treated as a tax-free merger, which would be a case between 2 corporations, which I'm sure there's examples of that out there, but I think a lot of small businesses wouldn't really have that.
Yeah.
So, the most of the capital gains are at 15%. So if you've held an asset over 12 months, then the proceeds are long-term capital gains. And for most taxpayers, that's at 15%. If your income reaches, I believe it's about $400,000, you'll go up to 20%. But you'd much rather have it taxed at that 15% than your ordinary income. If it's not going to be a capital gains and it's just ordinary income, then you could be up to 37%, the highest tax bracket. So see your CPA about that. We'd be happy to help and go over some things with you, but like Sherri said, get help, because this can make thousands of dollars of difference in what your valuation is of your business and what your taxes could be that you end up paying. So.
And the SBDC, they worked with us as well as the bank that had the loan for the business that we were buying. The bank and the SBDC worked together with us. It took them a year for us to be able to buy the business because they lacked books and records, and then the owner that we bought from did not realize that he was going to have to pay capital gains on the sale of that business. And so you could buy it out. We bought it outright with loans, or you could buy it over time and maybe spread some of that out. I don't know, but you really need to get advice from people that are doing a lot of this all day long, because they know how to leverage and make everything more advantageous for you. And they have records based on industry standards of what a typical business that you're trying to buy or sell goes for, dollar per whatever. Right. So, I mean, they can look up all of that. They have all that data, and it's free. It's huge. Yeah.
They're out there. They're willing to help you.
And they're nice people. So let me see here. The next thing I have is about Social Security and working. What do you have next? I'm all shuffled around here.
Let's talk about Social Security.
I was sitting in my chair last night, and I had a cat on top of me. Maybe that's the problem.
The kitty mixed up the pages.
Blame it on the cat. So let's say that you're getting ready to retire, but your Social Security is not going to really be enough, so you're thinking you're going to pick up a part-time job. And so if you're retiring underneath your full retirement age and you get a full part-time job, you could have benefits. Social Security benefits could be cut. So if you're younger than full retirement age, for the entire year, they deduct $1 from your benefit payments for every $2 you earn above the annual limit. And for this year, that limit is $18,960. And I have had clients who've been through this, but they've had side gigs where they could control how much they earned every month. Mm-hmm. And what they experienced is that if they went over that number for 1 month, their benefits were cut the next month.
Oh, wow.
I was shocked. Because how is it that Social Security has this 2-year lag on everything else, but you make more 1 month and all of a sudden you get cut? It's like there's something crazy. I was amazed.
Because I thought it would be annually once you actually reported what you made for the whole year.
Maybe it is now, but that's the last person I had going through this. It was like immediate. In the year you reach full retirement age, they deduct $1 in benefits for every $3 you earn above a different limit. In 2021, that limit is $50,520. And then once you're full retirement age, there's no deduction. So if you're retiring at full retirement age of Social Security, you can go earn any amount you want, and it doesn't matter.
That's awesome.
That's important to understand because you don't want to lose benefits. Now, I've also had cases with, and in this person's case, their spouse passed away, so they went ahead and applied for spousal benefits, not their own. And then they worked a side gig and made sure they were working under the limit so that wouldn't get cut. And then they let their benefit continue to grow, and they applied for theirs at age 70, which was a good strategy.
Oh, yeah.
Because then they maxed theirs out because theirs was going to be a lot higher, but they went ahead and took the spousal just because they could and worked part-time.
Yes,
So you gotta figure. So you go to mysocialsecurity.com. Gov, SSA.gov, My Social Security, open an account, look at your statement, make a plan. You have to have these numbers and think through how you're going to do this as part of your overall financial plan.
Yeah, I had a client in this week, and they went on disability about age 58 or so, and they'd had some back problems, so they had to start getting their disability. And we talked about whether their disability amount would change once they actually reached full retirement age. And I found it interesting. My client had said, well, look at your own statement, see what it says. And the difference between my full age retirement payout and my disability, the disability is actually like $350 more. So if I started getting that before full retirement age, so say at 60, I started getting disability, then whenever my full retirement age came around, they wouldn't change it because I'm already making that full amount. So whatever you get once you get disabled, that's probably the amount that you're going to stick with. But like Sherri said, it's so important to print that statement out, bring it to somebody, let us look at it with you, because it can be a huge difference between taking Social Security at 62, 65, 67, or even 70, and it can make a huge difference in how comfortable your retirement is, what you can do during retirement. So please look at that, and before you make those decisions, get somebody to help you look at it.
And don't fall into the trap of applying at 62 because you think it's going broke. There's a bunch of that. We've seen so much of that of people saying, well, I want to get it now because it's going to go broke. There's a bunch of people who've written books about this, and the best thing that I've read, Tony Robbins wrote a book called Money years ago, and he dedicated the entire end of the book to this concept. And he looked at the number of millennials that are working, and he looked at the number of people that are passing away and coming off the benefit. And at about the time that millennials reach their highest earning years at age 50, when the majority of them are there paying max taxes, that's when people like me start dying off and not getting any benefits. And so there's a tipping point, and nobody ever talks about that. It's like this cliff that we're all going to go over, and that never really goes like that. So
yeah, as those boomers get older and they fall off the cliff, the millennials will be picking up the pace for us. But yeah. So last week we talked about the inherited IRA, and just to circle back to that, we did verify that there is, under the 10-year rule, your assets can be distributed in any amount at any time as long as the entire amount is withdrawn by the end of the 10th year. So there is not actually a required minimum distribution when you have an inherited 10-year, when you have an inherited IRA and the person has passed away after January 1st of 2020. So
this is a huge thing that everyone needs to pay attention to, because we're dealing with it because we have clients that people's passed, and this is going forward. So I have clients that their dad passed in January of this year. So the 10-year starts kicking in, and they're going to have to liquidate. And so you have to make a plan. Do you want to take it out some now every year, or do you want to wait until or are you going to hope Congress changes this and does away with it? Or this is a mess. Total mess. Anyways, you got a phone call. Good morning. You're on Your Money with Steve, Sherri. He's not here. Steve, Sherri, and Becca. Maybe Steve's
He's
listening.
Here in spirit. He's here in spirit.
Steve's on vacation. They hung up. Dial tone? Okay.
Oh, no.
Well, call back, 742-0940.
We want to talk to you.
Yeah. Anyways, so I had a client email me this week about Social Security. She can't get online to look at her benefits because they had an identity theft issue, and so they had to lock down their credit. And what I learned is Social Security, when you go in and put in it asks you all these questions like, is this your mortgage? Is this where you used to live? Is this whatever? Is this your credit card? It pings Equifax. And so they're going to have to unlock their Equifax report and able to get in to look at their statement. And she spent an hour and 5 minutes on hold, was thinking somebody at Social Security would help her.
What a nightmare.
And she got all the way through, and they couldn't help her.
Oh, no.
Because Anyways, back to the phones. Good morning.
Yes. Good morning. How are you?
We're great. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Sherri, I wanted to bring up, I heard y'all talking about different aspects of Social Security, and I want to bring up something else.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I didn't know, but happens that if you work past your full retirement age and continue to pay Social Security, they actually readjust not only the COLA they put in every year, but they also go back and refigure every year, and
Yes.
your basis keeps going up. So one of the things that we did is I went ahead, because I'm continuing to work past full retirement age, went ahead and I calculated, and with that done, even though it's not the same thing as that 8% until you're 70 and all like that, what it does, though, is it allows you to start not only taking Social Security, but go ahead and my wife was claimed and getting half of mine.
Great.
And so as long as I keep working, it keeps adjusting and going up, so I get a little bit of a bounce. But by the time I do decide to retire, I'd have to work till about 109. I mean, you have to live to 109 to get to the break point. So that's at least another option I wanted to bring up, because I never knew that until I did a little bit of research with Social Security.
Yeah, people don't realize that the Social Security benefit is based on your highest 35 years of earnings. And so every year that you work and make more money, it bumps off a year that you made less money. And so the average becomes greater. They index all of those earnings years forward for inflation and then average them, and that creates your benefit. So you're absolutely right. The longer you work and the more you make, the greater your benefit's going to be. So that's good. And we have a report, just for people that don't know all of this stuff, we have a report on our website, retirerelax.com, about understanding your Social Security benefits that explains all of that stuff.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. Like I said, it's worked very well. And
so how long?
There's one unfortunate thing. I was hoping during all this great stuff being in Congress, they do away with you could reach an age where you didn't have to pay Social Security anymore. That would actually be another benefit. But they haven't figured that one out quite yet.
Nah, they like getting that money out of your check. So how long are you going to work?
Well, it's like I tell people, I don't have any hobbies. I enjoy work and I enjoy what I do. So it's not like I can't wait to retire so I can go play golf or cards or whatever. So as my dad told me, as long as you got your health, you can do anything. So as long as I got my health, I'm going to keep working because I enjoy it. So
that's great.
I'd like to. I worked with a gentleman many years ago. He was in his early 80s, and I said, well, are you going to retire? He said, I already retired once. He said, I did in 5 other guys, and he said, after a year, I was the only one looking down on the grass instead of up at it. And then I said, well, when are you going to retire? He said, when I go to the airport and forget where I'm going, I said, I'm going to go home and retire.
That's a good answer. Yay. Well, good for you. I'm so happy for you that you're happy in your work and you're staying busy. It's good for your brain.
Yes, it is.
Right?
Yes, it is.
Yep.
It sure is. There's something about it. Even, if you take any extended vacation, you realize you get a little lethargic and it's kind of hard readjusting. But, yeah, it's good to be busy.
Yay. Good. You have a wonderful day, and thanks for calling.
Yes, ma'am. Bye-bye.
All righty. Bye-bye. So if anybody else out there has a comment or question, the number is 478-742-0940. We would love to hear from you.
Something he said that we talked about with the Social Security, when you have a spouse, and like maybe it sounds like in his situation, maybe his wife was home with the kids or didn't work as much, and you can draw off of your spouse's benefits. So I know you talked about, but wait until they're 70.
So it all depends on ages. So if you get a spousal benefit, which could be half of their benefit, but it depends on how old you are. If you do it a spousal at 62, it's going to be cut. It's going to be reduced. So every year that you wait to draw the spousal, you make more money, 8% more. It's the same deal. The other thing is the divorced spouse benefits, which a lot of people don't know. Let's say you've been married twice and divorced twice. You can apply for benefits against either one of those people, and they're whichever one had the highest income record, that's the one you would apply against, and then you could get half of their benefit, which could be greater than yours depending on how much you worked.
I think you have to be married 10 years.
10 years,
yeah.
right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. There we go. We're back on the phones. Good morning. You're on with Becca and Sherri.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
I want to throw a monkey wrench into the stuff you've been saying, if that's all right.
Hang on one second. CT, can you turn the volume up?
Yeah.
It's hard to hear. Speak up a little bit so everybody can hear you really good.
Okay, is that better?
There, yeah, that's way better. Thank you so much.
I want to throw a monkey
what's your monkey
into
wrench?
the things you've been saying.
Okay.
You've been talking about it, everybody earning as much as they can in retirement and so on and so forth. I would like to tell you to take your retirement just as quick as you possibly can.
There's benefits to that too,
right?
Well, I took mine 16 years ago,
and
I have had a very good run at it, and now I have got health problems, and it ain't going to be worked out. How about that?
Wow.
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
Well, it's all right. I mean, I am not complaining. I have had an exceedingly good life, and I've had an exceedingly good retirement. And it's just, if I had waited to try to increase my income, I'd have missed a lot of this stuff.
Right.
I wouldn't have had the opportunity to do a lot of the things that I've been able to do.
Yeah, and we see people that are in your shoes, and then we see people that really should wait because they can't afford it. If you have debt payments and you're barely going to squeak by on your Social Security check, it's not a great way to live.
Yes.
So it just depends on the situation, but I'm thankful that you did what you did and that you're happy with it.
Oh, I got no complaints whatsoever.
That's
awesome.
Wonderful. It's a very personal thing, and you look at someone's family history, how long, their mom and their dad has lived, if there's illnesses. And, I did some financial plans where we did numbers to see if you took it at 62 versus 67, and it comes out to about your mid to late 70s where it breaks even. So if you have, everybody in your family tends to pass away in their early 70s, chances are if you take it earlier, you're going to come out ahead. But if, everybody in your family...
But if that doesn't happen...
Yeah, then you could be in trouble. You're not going to have as much. But if everyone in your family is living to be 100, then you may want to wait to have that little extra. But it's definitely a person by person, and that's, why it's good to sit down with somebody and talk about your history. And it sounds like you made some good decisions, and it worked out best for you.
Well, I got to give that credit to my wife.
Oh, nice.
I'm serious. She has absolutely taken care of me and the family.
Oh, wow.
Our entire marriage.
So what are you doing these days? Are you getting out at all still, or are you staying locked down?
I'm pretty much staying locked down. But it's not a lot different for me because I didn't run up and down the streets anyway. I stay at home and I tinker with things and I work on cars a little bit and somebody wants something built, I build it for them and that kind of thing.
Oh, nice.
So are you going to have a big garden again this year?
No, I gave up on
You gave up on the gardening thing? I have a lot of people giving up on that because it's so much work.
Well, it's a lot of work, and I wasn't getting anything. The last garden I grew, the first crop of the year was potatoes, and the voles, which are like a little mouse,
right,
ate every potato.
Oh, no.
They took a bite out of every potato.
We had those in our yard once, so we had to start spreading poison on our yard every 3 months to keep them out of our yard.
Yes.
Because where we live, there were wild hogs in Warner Robins. And we came home one day, and wild hogs had destroyed our entire backyard looking for those things because they eat them. They dig them up with their tusks. It was a disaster.
I'll bet.
Yeah, moles are horrible. Well, you have a wonderful day and a good weekend, okay?
I will.
Thanks
Thank
for calling.
Thank you. Bye.
So I have this random one paragraph highlighted that I don't know where it came from about the IRA transfer rule that you can transfer up to $100,000 from an IRA directly to a qualified charity. Did we even talk about that?
I have one or two clients that we've done some figuring on that to see what the ideal range was for that. But you can't, if you take a itemized deduction, you can't deduct those
charitable.
Right,
you can't deduct it. It's just a wash.
It's separate from that.
Yes.
But a lot of people, or not a lot, but there's people out there that take their required minimum distributions each year and just have that check written automatically to their church or their charity of their choice, and then they don't have to claim taxes on that. So it's a great
win
win
because they don't need the money.
Right.
And they'd rather donate it somewhere. So if that's your case, you can talk to your advisor about doing that and just have the money sent directly to your church or wherever you want it to go. And I know a lot of people are going to get this $1,400 stimulus thing. A lot of my clients have donated that money because they don't need it.
Mm-hmm.
And so they just give it to their charity, their church or whatever, or go out to eat and tip somebody really big and make their day happy. And
well, and that would be a good idea then if they have that extra money and they haven't taken their distribution for the year yet, wait and keep that money as part of their normal money they would get from that distribution and take that distribution and do the
donate
qualified.
it.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Check with us.
Steve has a lot of clients that do that.
We were talking about seniors getting out, and with the last gentleman, and we found an article about the vaccinations are having the biggest impacts on airlines. So now that people are getting their vaccines, they're not quite as frightened to be inside, and they're getting out more. They think that the airlines are going to see a huge increase with all of the older generation that's been stuck inside for a year. It's been amazing, the clients and the people that we've seen that have just stayed inside almost this entire year.
I had a client in yesterday that has not done anything other than pick up groceries on a click list for an entire year. She has not seen a friend. She has not been anywhere. The only thing that I think she's hanging on to that keeps her going is her 3 cats that entertain her, and she has some hobbies and she reads books and stuff, but I can't imagine it. I just can't imagine it.
There's been several articles about pet adoption increases over the last year as well, because all these people are locked at home and all these kids are at home, and so everybody's getting puppies and cats, and so that makes everybody happier. I found an article about when can we cruise again and will it be safe. During last year, the cruises completely stopped. And, we've got another call. Okay.
I have no desire to go on a cruise.
Hi there. How are you doing today?
Dial, what did you do? Cut him off?
Why are you hanging up on him?
Have you ever been on a cruise?
I have. I love it. It's just
so
nice. You get on the boat.
See, I can't stand it. I feel trapped. I feel trapped, and I want to go wherever I want to go. I don't want somebody controlling when I can get off and when I can get on and where they stop, and I just can't.
Yeah, you've got to be committed to that up front, that you're willing to do what they're going to tell you to do. But they're going to have cruises are going to be capped at 7 days, and they're going to some of the ships are going to be required to do rapid tests and do temperature screenings and all that. But they're looking at trying to do shorter cruises, and they're going to have limited spaces, and they're going to have to keep separate rooms open for quarantining. So
that'd be really exciting. Yeah, quarantine on a cruise. Wow, that sounds like a blast.
The CDC says if you should get tested 3 to 5 days after travel and stay home for 7 days after your travel. And if you don't get tested, it recommends you stay home for 14 days after your return.
What's the point of going anywhere if you have to be locked down for 14 days afterward?
Yeah, one said depending on what country you're sailing into, they could actually require vaccine verification, that you've gotten your vaccine. So could you imagine having have a little card, and every time you stopped at a port, get your passport stamped and get your vaccine checked?
I noticed too, when the cruise that we went on, the places they stopped were just not that desirable because they're tourist traps. It's not like the real country, you can't really see what the country's really about. Another call. Let's go to the phones. You're on with your money, Becca and Sherri.
Good morning. The very best to Becca and Sherri this morning.
Good morning. We can't hardly hear you, Bobby. Speak up a little bit or something.
Okay.
That's better.
Me try this. Oh, it's better?
Yeah.
Okay. Listen, I wanted to tell you about Social Security, and then I wanted to ask you about a Roth IRA.
Right.
For Social Security, as far as I'm concerned, and my family history, most of my people on my mother's side lived to be 98, 90,
right.
And Mom was 94 coming up here, so I'm electing to wait till I'm 70 to take it. Because
Good. Sounds like a great choice.
And it's about 8 years or so that you become, equal. So I kind of looked at that too, Becca, and I was adding all of that stuff up together just to see how much I would have to make in order to break even. And it was right around 78 or 79, right in there.
Okay, yeah, that's about where I get.
So if I make it to 80, boy, I'm way ahead, So
then 90 or 95.
And if I make it to 95 or 100, Lord have mercy. Mom always told me I'm not going to make it to 100 because of my lifestyle. But I got rid of the motorcycle, so I don't know. I might make it.
Oh, my gosh.
I wanted to ask you just said 10 years on the IRA for an inherited IRA. Does that apply to a Roth as well?
Yes, it does.
Wow.
right?
Oh.
It's a rotten deal. I don't understand. Trump, I think, approved it to negotiate some other bigger thing he was trying to pass, and so he let this thing through, and I think it's just absolutely rotten to force people to take retirement money out over 10 years.
Especially the
Yeah,
Roth, because it's
Right.
It's not taxable.
Doesn't make any sense
Well,
to me.
that's a good thing about the Roth, though. It won't be taxed. Is that right? Even
Right.
though you have to take it out for 10 years?
Correct.
Right.
Okay.
But then you'd put it in probably like an investment account, because if you don't have your own income, there's no way to put it into a different Roth, and so you're going to have to pay taxes on the growth of that.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, that's pretty much my questions. I'm hoping more people will call in and ask questions because it's so informative, when you answer these questions.
Oh,
Right.
We're glad we can help.
I know you have to do your show and everything, Sherri, but I love people to call in. I
Me
love
too.
to hear the questions,
Right.
But y'all are doing a fabulous job. I appreciate it. God bless you all, and I hope to talk to y'all soon.
Thank
All right, thanks,
you.
Bobby.
You take care. All right. Do we want to talk about Larry King? What's next on your pile?
Yeah. So
This
poor
is
Larry
crazy.
King passed away.
Oh, we got a phone call.
Oh, they hang
Good
up.
morning. You're on with Becca and Sherri.
Hey, Sherri, this is Tom Glover with Responsive Technology Partners. How are you?
Yay!
Good morning.
So we wanted you to call in and tell people what you do, because we know businesses that were hacked during this whole virus thing, and they had massive problems, and we called you in and referred them to you. So tell everybody what you do.
Yeah, so Responsive Technology Partners has been around since 2007. We provide IT and security services to small businesses. We don't really do residential. I was just actually looking back through my records. I think the first ransomware attack that we worked was back in 2014.
Wow.
And had a data center that hosted CPA data, and they got ransomed, and it was
That's a
a pretty
nightmare.
big mess because, nobody had ever really seen something like that back then.
So what were they requesting in exchange to get their data back then?
Bitcoins.
Really,
Same
Bitcoin
thing as
back
they
then.
did.
Wow,
Yeah,
even in
back then.
2014.
They were very advanced,
Of course, they were a lot
Hackers.
cheaper back then.
right?
So,
So how much did your caseload blow up last year with all of this hacking going on?
huge. I mean, it's still continuing. That's there. Every time that you get employees out working out from that kind of safety nest of the
Right.
office, we start to see and additional hacks coming in. We do a lot of work with local government, so
I was
we
going to
had
ask you,
several.
what about the school systems?
We've not seen as much. We've got several schools that we work with. The big benefit there is most of those kids are on Chromebooks. So all they're doing is going into websites. They're not coming back into the school system itself.
Okay.
So we haven't seen much there, but we have seen a lot in the small business space. Back in September, Tyler Systems, that's one of the largest, kind of like an ERP system for local governments, they got hit. And, I mean, they encrypted everything all the way to their phone system and their public website. And so working with our small local government customers, we were kind of having to scrounge because we just knew they had gotten the credentials and other things while they were in there.
Wow.
So explain what you would do if a company doesn't have a problem yet, but they're concerned about having a problem and getting hacked. What would you do?
Right. So one of the things that we offer to any company, and we serve an area from Virginia all the way down to Florida now.
Oh, wow.
Is we'll come in and do a free network and security assessment. And through that, we scan the network. We look for common vulnerabilities like patches not being deployed, systems that don't have antivirus or malware protection, password policies, things that, kind of good hygiene on your computers. And out of that, we'll come back with a set of recommendations that we hand over. It's not we'll hold it hostage, and only if you hire us to do
For
this will
Bitcoin.
we give it to you. Yeah, exactly.
Hey, give me Bitcoin and I'll fix your system.
But our goal there really is just we're trying to help.
Right.
We see if we get called in after you've been ransomed, it's too late.
Right.
I mean, your data's been taken. And now the modern ransomware, they're not just encrypting the data, they're stealing it. So if you've got good backups, which most people go, well, I back up to the cloud, I don't have to worry about it. Well, if you had sensitive data, like you're a CPA and you've got everybody's tax records,
Social security
then
numbers.
they turn around and say, okay, that's fine, but if you don't pay us, we're going to put their data out on the dark web.
Wow.
It's depressing.
What about Facebook hacks? What can people do with that? That's
most of the time I see the Facebook stuff over on the individual side, not the commercial. But in general, I don't accept Facebook requests coming from people that I don't know. Because what they're doing is they're trolling. As soon as they can get into your Facebook, then they start looking at all your information. Maybe they spin up a false Facebook account to impersonate you, and a lot of that is kind of around the identity theft space.
Right.
And again, you guys mentioned it earlier this morning, that don't put all your personal business on Facebook.
Right.
We post vacation pictures, but it's after we get back.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Good idea. All right, great. So you guys can do analysis for a business for free. Come in and check them out and kind of see any weak areas they have.
So if anybody wants the number and the contact name for Responsive Technologies, if you're a small business owner, give us a call at the office, 478-922-8100, and you can talk to any of us, Sherri, Becca, or Randy, and we'll give you the contact information because this is crucial. You can't just hope that things go well. You have to take action. This is part of your investment in your business now, is to make sure that you're going to be functional going forward, or you could lose everything. I mean, it's that bad. So, anything else you want to add?
Nope, that's it. Sherri, thank you all for doing this segment. I think it's really important.
It is super
business
important.
Community.
Yeah, and it's been a huge problem locally for people that we've known that have gone through it. So, thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah.
Y'all have a good day.
You too.
So that's Tom Glover with Responsive Technologies, and they do IT work for us, but we have to disclaim that we own no stock in their company. So.
That's right. We have another call. Good morning. You're on with Becca and Sherri.
Yes, ma'am. I had a quick question. It's unfortunately slightly morbid, but has anybody...
Can you speak up a little bit louder?
I'm sorry, can you hear me now?
Yeah, that's way better. Thank you.
Okay. With the COVID situation, this is a slightly morbid question. What is the status of Social Security, since now there's over 500,000 people have died, and the majority of those people were in their 70-plus age bracket?
You are reading.
And it's basically taking them off the rolls.
You are reading my mind.
Should only help things.
So it's interesting. There's the book that Tony Robbins wrote talked about that, and about the death rate of the people that are on Social Security. And as that death rate increases, then it decreases the amount of benefits being paid. And as the millennials make more money and more people work and pay taxes, it balances the whole program out. It's still supposedly going broke in 2034. The last I looked, because they do a Social Security trust fund report every year, and they report the health of the program. The interesting thing is the disability side gained in 1 year. Last year, it gained 9 years of solvency because fewer people are on disability. And it's interesting. I had this woman in my office doing retirement planning, and she worked for Social Security Disability. And I asked her, I said, fewer people are applying for disability, or is it that people are coming off disability because there's so many jobs? And she said they're not applying in the first place, and they're coming off disability, which is why we gained 9 years of solvency in 1 year. Wow. So when the economy is doing well and people are working and paying into the system, it right-sizes itself. And so that's what we need, is for everybody to get back to work. That's why I'm not thrilled about people getting unemployment. I've seen people, and I talked to someone last night they're a small business owner, and they have employees that just don't want to come back to work because they're making more money being unemployed than they make working. And I told the guy, I said, you got to shut it down. You as an owner have to shut that down and make them come back to work. And you're the one that having to do it. Having them sit home and making them extra money and making your other employees come to work is not right. You can't do it. So we have a bunch of things that need to get fixed, but I think that's going to fix itself.
And do you think people maybe aren't filing for disability as much because they can work from home more?
There were a lot of people during the last recession that filed for disability that was very questionable that they even got disability. It was too easy, and there were no work requirements. So when Trump got elected, he said, okay, if you're on certain programs, you have to be looking for a job. And certain state, he couldn't federally mandate it, but certain states followed him. And I think North Carolina was one of the first that enacted a law that if you were receiving food stamps and certain benefits, that you had to be actively working for a job and looking for a job. And that state's unemployment number dropped like a rock within months. Because they actually made people go get a job.
Right.
So it's crazy. We're in a crazyville time right now. But anyways, So, any other questions you got?
No, it's well, one aside that you just mentioned. The biggest thing about the government I don't understand is the government operates at a fantastic deficit size, and
Right.
By one small rule, they have just decided that Social Security, much like the post office, has to remain solvent, and it's just basically by a decision versus, are we going to take care of these, older people, in their retirement age, and if it does become insolvent, what are they going to do? Are they going to allow this to run into a deficit, or suddenly there's going to be another source of income to keep that propped up and supported?
Well, they're talking about all these taxes on the wealthy people to offset all of this money that they're throwing around, and usually that doesn't work too well because people that have a lot of money just move somewhere else.
Right, they'll move their money overseas. Yeah, they don't even have to move. All they have to do is move their money nowadays.
The biggest joke is the thing where they want to tax businesses, or they want to tax you on your total assets, which Europe has tried it over and over, and it doesn't work. Say, oh, you have this much amount and this much money and this much of a house and this much of this and the boat and all that stuff, and you owe $1 million in taxes, but you don't have $1 million just laying around. They don't understand how stuff works many times.
That's ridiculous. You get taxed on it every year then.
Right.
Every year you have the house.
Right. And when you have, when it's not liquid money, if it's it's a hard asset, there's no, you either have to
sell some of it.
Previously, you have to sell, or you have to figure out a way to make that property earn enough money to at least pay the taxes.
Right. It's crazy. Well, stay tuned for more craziness.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate your information.
You have a great weekend. Thanks for calling.
All right.
Great questions. So what do you want to talk about next?
Well, let's talk about TSP.
Oh, good.
So I worked on base for about 4 years, so I had my own TSP fund, so I got to learn a little bit about it. But it seems like a lot of people have questions about it, so I wanted to go through the funds that are available to invest in your TSP and just give you a brief description on those. So there's a C fund, which is stocks of large and medium-sized U.S. companies, and the objective of that fund is to match the performance of the Standard & Poor's 500 index. So the C fund is large and medium-sized U.S. companies. The S fund is stocks of small to medium-sized companies that are not included in the C fund, and that one is the objective is to match the performance of the Dow Jones. And the I fund is international stocks of more than 20 developed countries. And the F fund is corporate, government, and mortgage-backed bonds. And then there's the famous G fund, which is government securities. So, we get a lot of people in that get worried about the stock market, and they say, I've moved all my money to the G fund. And the G fund is a very safe fund to be in your TSP, but it also has varying growth. In 2020, the return for the G fund was 0.97%, not even a whole percent. So slightly better than what you get the bank.
But it's guaranteed that you can't lose money. So that's why people go into it,
Right.
is I can't lose money, but you're not going to make much money.
Right. On the other side of it, the S fund for 2020 had a return of 31.85% for 2020. So the alternative to just picking one of those 5 funds is the L funds. And these are different funds. They're called like the lifestyle funds, and they're invested in the G, F, S, C, and I funds, but at different levels. And it's based on when your projected retirement date is. So you pick a fund with the date closest to when you plan to retire, and each time, each quarter, I believe it's analyzed, and they change the ratios of that so that it gets safer as you get closer to retirement. But when you're younger, it's more aggressive in that C and that S fund so that you are getting more growth. So again, come to us. We would love to look at your any of your 401ks, your TSP statements with you, and just to, based on your age, your risk tolerance, your financial goals that you have, we can help you look at that and see, is this the best thing you're in? Sometimes people, they're really into that. They have a stock and bond mix. They know exactly what they're into and
but
why
that's
they
rare.
chose it. And then there's other people that say, well, I just pulled it out, and now it's just sitting here in a money fund. And I haven't, this one lady, she had almost $90,000 this week in her 401k, and she'd gotten like $700 last year that she'd made on that because it just sat in a money fund. So, we would love to look at that with you, give you some advice, help you make some good decisions with that, because especially if you're younger and you have years left to grow,
right.
You need to be able to make that money grow for you so you can plan for that wonderful retirement.
Yeah, so our son was working on base, and he was 24 years old, and I said, "You're putting money in the TSP, right?" And he said, "Yeah." I said, "What fund are you in?" G. I said, "Why are you in, you're 24, why are you in the G fund?" He goes, "Everyone at work says the world's coming to an end, so I have to be in the G fund." I said, "Don't listen to those people. Do not listen to them. Move it to the C now." Anyways, that's very good advice. And we offer complimentary consultations, and our Warner Robins or Macon offices. All you have to do is call us, 478-922-8100, and just ask for an appointment with Steve, Becca, or myself. We'll sit down with you and talk about anything you want to. I've talked to a number of widows this month that just need help thinking through and getting their head around what they're up against, inheriting everything and being in charge of everything. We can talk. Becca really spends more time with younger people than Steve and I do. And so let's say you're just getting started out with a business, or you're getting started out with your career and you need some help getting some advice on how to save for your future. She can do a financial plan for you and help you lay out your whole path. So we are here for you. Complimentary consultations, Macon or Warner Robins. Give us a call, 478-922-8100. And if you want to know more about us, go to retirerelax.com. Print out some special reports. You can learn about how to prepare for retirement on your own, how to look at your Social Security benefits on your own, whatever all the information out there is absolutely free. And just by going to our website, we're not going to contact you or follow up on you or anything. It is totally safe. So have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Great calls.
Bye-bye.
The views expressed on the show should not be construed directly or indirectly as an offer to buy or sell any securities or services mentioned herein. Investing is subject to risk, including loss of principal invested. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. No strategy can assure a profit nor protect against loss. Please note that individual situations can vary. Therefore, the information should only be relied upon when coordinated with individual professional advice. Securities are offered through Royal Alliance Associates Incorporated, member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services are offered through Rosenberg Financial Group, a registered investor advisor not affiliated with Royal Alliance Associates Incorporated. Offices are located at 2517 Moody Road, Warner Robins, and 4875 Riverside Drive, Suite 201 in Macon. Phone numbers are 922-8100 and 741-4457.